All right, guys, gotta go fast with this review. Don't worry, I hate myself the most. All right, so Sonic. It's a movie. I don't know what it is about Sonic, but for some reason, I really expected it to either be a hell of a lot worse than it was or a hell of a lot better. And that's not to say it's bad. I think that for Sonic fans, this is going to be a really fun movie to see. And if you have kids, I think it's like the best choice out there right now to take your kid to. And even though the internet outcry against the original character model was enough to put the already overworked VFX team to extreme measures to fix things and make him actually look like Sonic is kind of terrifying, I do really appreciate that they did that because it made a huge difference. He looks great, or he looks about as great as you can imagine an animated Sonic can look in the real world. I get that maybe they were originally going for some kind of more like realistic look for the character, but that's just not something that I or anybody else needs when it comes to Sonic or any other beloved characters. Just a quick rundown of the plot. It's pretty basic. You got Sonic who comes to Earth from another land to try to stay safe. He's got to keep running, can't talk to people, and he's super lonely, and that's really sad, and it ends up being a very heartbreaking and heartwarming thing throughout the movie, just of how alone he feels in the world because he's the only thing that's like him. But after an accident that reveals his powers, Dr. Robotnik ends up tracking him down because he manages to see the imprint of his foot and realizes like there's no known species like this on the world. They start hunting him down. So the whole thing just turns into this kind of buddy movie where he's getting help from James Marsden's character and they're just kind of driving around, having a good time, checking off a bunch of stuff on Sonic's bucket list. It's cute. It's nice. Now, I know the big thing is that people want to know how this stacks up to Detective Pikachu. A lot of people are saying it's about on par. I personally think that Detective Pikachu is friendlier to a wider audience of people, but I'm also a bigger Pikachu fan. Like, I did play Sonic games back in the day. I remember watching the Sonic animated series. I also remember watching Sonic Underground, where it's like they're a band, which was super cool. But Pokemon really, really marked my life growing up as a child, as did things like Digimon. Those are things that I hold very dear to my heart. So Detective Pikachu, though I'm not a huge continued obsessive Pokemon fan, I felt more of an attachment to that movie. So I wouldn't necessarily take myself too seriously for that because I do think that Sonic fans are going to like this, but I do think this feels way more like a kid movie than Detective Pikachu did. And again, that's not a problem because that's what they're going for, but I think the way I was describing it is like when I watch something like Toy Story that I watched when I was a kid and I watch it now, it's not nostalgia that lets me know I'm watching a great movie, it's the fact that it's a great movie. But Sonic is it's fun. It's very fun. And in terms of like juggling real people into a world with these cartoon characters, it actually works super well considering that usually doesn't work super well. People usually hate it. So on that regard, I think that they did at least match what Pokemon managed to achieve. They did a really good job with it. The acting between like James Marsden's character and Sonic was fine. And the behavior with Sonic was also great. I like the relationship with all the characters. Jim Carrey was obviously just a great pick for somebody like Dr. Robotnik. It really channels that old crazy Jim Carrey that we really haven't seen in a while. But I will say that my viewing experience for this movie was a little bit tarnished. So I don't know if you can take my opinion too seriously because I feel like if I had been under different viewing settings, I'd probably be a lot more overtly positive towards this experience. But let me just paint you guys a picture because, there's the long and short of things. If you're a Sonic fan or if you think it looks good, you're probably going to have a great time with it, but just go into it expecting a kid's movie. There's some good jokes. It's fine. So let me paint you the picture of my experience. So I sit down for this movie. It's the first showing at 5 p.m. It's not super packed, which I expected because it's, 5 p.m. So a lot of people are still working at that time. But there was an eclectic mix of people. We had our die-hard Sonic fans, both young and old. And I will say, I think it's awesome when kids get excited about things and love things. I think it's really awesome and it's heartwarming. But that doesn't change the fact that there are basic rules that people are supposed to follow in public. So when you're like sitting down ready for Sonic to start and some kid comes in yelling, Sonic, 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 it's just like, just bring it down. But it was okay. It was fine. He ended up quieting down from when the movie started, but a lot of people were still kind of chatty throughout the movie, but we'll get to that in a second. Now, if you guys follow me on Twitter, if you don't, you should. You might have seen me tweet over my Sundance experience talking about a guy who smelled like swamp ass. In this situation, there was two not kids, not quite adults yet. I don't know if they were in high school. I don't know if they had graduated already, but one of them smelled like BO and one of them smelled like damp cigarettes. And for the guy who smells like damp cigarettes, if it's you smoking, you got to figure out a different method. But if it's because your parents smoke, that just sucks and it's in your clothing and there's nothing you can do about it. I feel horrible for you. But it doesn't change the fact that it makes the viewing experience a little bit shitty when you just have this constant smell of damp nicotine just wafting around you mixed with BO. It kind of sucks. So while not quite as offensive as the swamp ass guy, which I will explain, apparently some people on my stream this morning didn't know what swamp ass is. Swamp ass, what I imagine happened to this man is that it was an early morning screening, 9 a.m. showing of Palm Springs, the new Andy Samberg movie. So it was a very popular one amongst the press and the industry folk. So my guess is that this dude went out the night before, partied pretty hard, woke up just with enough time to make it to the movie, but not enough time to actually shower. Maybe had some whiskey runs and then rocked up to this movie theater potentially wearing the same clothing / underwear he was wearing the day before, and that gives you the smell of swamp ass. It basically just smells like unwashed ass. Now, luckily, there was someone between us, and once that person sat down again and the guy with swamp ass stopped moving around, you didn't smell it as much, so it was not as offensive as that. But it's just still not nice when you can smell bad things when you're trying to watch a movie. It's annoying. Then, of course, during the movie, some of the kids were very vocal. So there's a scene where James Marsden just hangs up on Jim Carrey, and the kid in front of me here, who was very excited about Sonic, was like, "Ooh, roasted." So then that made the Sonic kid from earlier over in the corner start going like, "Ooh, sick burn. What a sick burn." And it was just like they were trying to build off each other. Like one of them was like, "Oh, he's going to be loud. That means I can be loud now too." And then there was like one kid who every time something like kind of disturbing happened would just laugh like, and would just hold the laugh so long. And then the kid that was diagonal to me would shush that kid, but then would go on to just yell things out loud like, "Ooh, sick burn." It was an experience. And I get it. It's a kid's movie. I expect kids to be there and they're going to act like kids. But I just thought it was interesting. I put myself through Dolittle. I saw Dora the Explorer in a packed theater on opening night last year with a bunch of kids around me. And like nobody acted like that in either of those movies. But I go see Sonic and that's when I just get like the whole package of just everything. It's the kind of thing I guess you expect from a kid's movie, and that's why I'm not trying to like make fun of anybody. And it's like, it's really cool that they were excited. Like when the movie was done, the kid that was like super vocal during the movie was all like, this is just the best movie I've ever seen. This is awesome. This is a fantastic movie. And I love that kind of excitement for film. And it's awesome that this movie is something that's going to make kids just super happy and that there's kids that are going to have like fond memories of this going forward for the rest of their life. That's really cool. I'm just complaining for myself because it just makes for an annoying movie-going experience and no one likes it when people around them stink. But I think it's really cool that kids are excited for this. Obviously, the movie itself had some like dumb stuff, like there's major plot points where it's logistics, where you think like someone's in a huge amount of trouble and they see on the news that they're in a huge amount of trouble. And then instead of being like, "Oh shit, we gotta go because like we're in a huge amount of trouble," they're just like, "Guess we'll just go to sleep here in this hotel where people can easily identify us because we definitely checked into a hotel with our identification." But again, it's a kid's movie. I'm not looking for logistics. If you don't think too hard, it's super fun. Like there was a cool little Sega intro. It had a nice little Sega outro. There's a nice like mid-credit scene that obviously links in to a sequel if it was not already obvious that they were going to make a sequel. Again, I really liked the portrayal of Sonic. I think it was Ben Schwartz who voiced Sonic, and I thought it was fine. There's a couple of good jokes, like he calls, because obviously he can't talk to people in this world, he has like these names for people behind their back, and one girl does yoga, so he calls her Pretzel Lady. He calls James Marsden character, I think, the Donut King. I know I got it wrong, but it's something like that. It's like the Donut Ruler, the Donut King, and it's just because he eats a lot of donuts, and he like sets them up and talks to them. And he's like, "So you talk to donuts and eat them when they get out of line." Like, it was just little things like that that were funny. There was a lot of really nice moments in this. In terms of some other stuff kind of swirling around this movie, there seemed like there was like a very vocal group of like Birds of Prey fans that were trying to convince people not to see this. Most of what I found was like copy paste, like people copying and pasting the same message, and then people were like, I haven't fucking seen either of these movies and I don't care. But if there were actually genuine fans of Birds of Prey trying to like convince people not to go see Sonic and to see Birds of Prey instead, that's kind of lame and pathetic. So yeah, here's like the copy paste. That's like, I took my husband and 2 sons to go see Sonic and was appalled to hear homophobic slurs used throughout the movie. Luckily, Birds of Prey was showing in the next room. My family had a much better experience. Like, it's a huge copy paste. There were some other ones where Sonic was dull, boring, and lifeless. The bad CGI was distracting. The jokes didn't land, especially with the villain. The whole plot was very cliched. Truly disappointed. I'll be taking my boys to see Birds of Prey, though. They're very excited, and so am I. Like, stuff like that sucks. It really sucks because, like, the copy paste stuff, people were clearly just having fun and it was very obviously fake. But, like, something like saying the CGI is bad and distracting, jokes didn't land, those are all, like, valid criticisms that you could potentially hear from this movie, and I'm assuming some people might actually say. So that kind of stuff sucks, and it doesn't serve to help anything. It just turns more people against Birds of Prey, and it's just stupid. It's like, you got one movie that's rated R, and you've got one movie that's for kids. It's just dumb to put them against each other. It's just such a weird thing to try to do if you're sincerely trying to stop people from going to see a movie. That's really pathetic. Like I said, a lot of it was just a copy paste of people just messing around that hadn't seen either movie and didn't really care. But the people that were actually making reviews that sounded legitimate, that's weird. Like, sorry, the movie that you love bombed in theaters. Like, I didn't think it was a horrible movie, but like, this is not the way to go if you're trying to get people to watch it. But also, like, the best movie I've seen this week was The Gentleman. I know that the description is basically like, this feels like if somebody was trying to make a Guy Ritchie movie that wasn't Guy Ritchie, except it is Guy Ritchie. I don't know if I went in with such low expectations, but I had a great time watching The Gentleman. Obviously, some of the dialogue was a little heavy-handed, but overall, great time. Would personally recommend. But like I said, most of what I ended up seeing seemed just like a rash of copy paste that is not actually going to stop anybody from taking their kids to Sonic. Nobody's going to believe that, but I guess there are some people out there that might believe it, so that's kind of shitty. But that was all very weird. All I can say is, as weird as it is that we had enough power to make them literally change the entire character model, I'm glad they did, because that would have taken this movie into the realm of just like horrific and so bad, and would have been so easy to dunk on. But instead we get something that's, you know, is pretty palatable. It's a fun, cute little time. If you're a Sonic fan, I can't imagine you not having a good time with this. There's nice little callbacks to the game. It's nothing that like extends into that next level of like, oh my God, I can't believe how amazing this is. But it's a fun movie. I think it's exactly what it needs to be. I think it's like the best case scenario of what we can expect from a video game movie. I think I would still give the edge to Detective Pikachu, but again, I have more of a personal attachment to Pokemon than I do Sonic, so take that into consideration. Sonic fans, I'm assuming you will really enjoy this, and if you're not a Sonic fan and you're not a fan of just kids movies, you probably won't like it that much. So that is going to do it for today's video. Let me know what you guys are thinking in the comment section down below. Have you seen Sonic? Do you want to see Sonic? Just let me know. I hope you all have a fantastic day going into this weekend, and we'll catch you all later.